Yo, what's going on, YouTube, and welcome to Goal Line Hockey. It's Kevin Forte, and today we have a very interesting topic as the Ottawa Senators are kind of in a bind right now. You know, less than a year ago, they traded for Alex Debrincat from the Chicago Blackhawks in what at the time sounded like a pretty good trade. Except now, less than a year later, Alex Debrincat is unsure if he wants to spend the next 8 years of his life in Canada. And that was from Bruce Garriott, who is a very good insider for the Ottawa Senators. So we kind of got some follow-ups to that. Since then, Pierre LeBrun said the Predators, the Golden Knights, and the Stars are probably on Debrincat's preferred list. Don't think for a second the no state tax had anything to do with that. It definitely did. That is not a coincidence and is something that definitely needs to be considered. Now, another interesting follow-up we've heard since then. So the Alex Debrincat saga continues to heat up as hockey insiders everywhere speculate on where the Senators will trade the impending restricted free agent. As any contract talks between the two sides seem to have stalled, Debrincat's agent has submitted a list of preferred trade destinations to the Sens. But according to Sportsnet's Elliot Friedman, the Detroit Red Wings are his team to watch. So at this moment, if you're keeping track, the Dallas Stars, the Nashville Predators, the Vegas Golden Knights, and at the top of the list right now, the Detroit Red Wings are the hot spots right now for Alex Debrincat. So it sounds like a lot of this has to do with, as much as I think it has to do with the ownership issues right now in Ottawa, a significant amount of it has to do with just maybe not wanting to play in the city of Ottawa. And, you know, I have to do an entire video on this because this is an issue. The Winnipeg Jets are in an extremely similar situation with some of their players. Guys don't want to play in Canada right now, especially guys from the States originally. And we're seeing right now, you know, obviously the first, no state tax final between Vegas and Florida obviously is kind of creating that sentiment as well. But, we're seeing that leverage really being difficult. Guys don't want to play in Canada. It's cold, the amount of taxes that are paid, and it's just difficult to really live. Everybody knows who you are. You can't even go get a Starbucks coffee without somebody picking you out and knowing who you are. And just, there's not much privacy. You go down to the States, you play in D.C., you play in Philly, maybe a bad example, but you know what I'm saying. You might be able to hide a little bit more in those areas. And it's warmer weather and, less harsh winters. Those are things that guys are going to be attracted to. So you're looking at a situation where, a lot of guys don't want to play in Ottawa, Montreal, even Toronto, Edmonton, Winnipeg, all those colder areas. It's a tough sell right now. And especially with all this stuff going on behind the scenes with even the Toronto Blue Jays and some of their players, it's really a frustrating thing right now for just Canadian sports fans in general. But that's for another day, because what we're looking at with Alex Debrincat right now is a situation of leverage. And this is a big thing that we talk about a lot here on the channel. I talked about it last week with potentially a Carter Hart trade for the Flyers. Is you have to toe the line with, we're listening, and it's not disrespectful if you give us an offer, but we're also not giving him up for free. And I think it's towing that line that is what makes a GM a good GM and a great GM. And right now we're kind of going to be seeing that here from what is possible for Dorian. Because the last couple times, there's been questionable moves by Pierre Dorian when he's been in this bind. They had a hard time resigning. Now, this was more the ownership from Eugene Melnyk, so it was different in that sense. But when there's a lack of leverage in terms of the player will not be signed, so you have to get something for him, it doesn't really go well for Dorian in the past, right? Mark Stone, they didn't want to give him the long-term contract. He ends up going to Vegas in what seemed like kind of an interesting package, right? Same thing with Carlson and San Jose. Now, that ended up working out for the Senators. They ended up getting a really good prospect in that deal. But it's one of those things where, at the time, it didn't look like a great trade. So you're looking at Debrincat right now in a similar sense for Dorian, in the sense that you aren't going to re-sign him, so you got to get something for him. And what's good about this for Dorian as well is he is an RFA, so it's not like Stone and Carlson where they're walking into UFA pure rental status. He is going to have a qualifying offer next year. It's just ideally you get in a situation where you don't have to worry about that. But it takes away a little bit of the leverage for Debrincat, which is a benefit for Dorian in terms of trading and trying to get assets for him. So, I think the Red Wings are definitely an interesting candidate. Just the idea of having Dylan Larkin and Alex Debrincat as your center core, really, really solid. And then you got Andrew Kopp and whoever else is on that group. I hate to say it, I like Marco Kasper, but I wonder if Marco Kasper is a part of that deal. And I don't know how the Red Wings fans would feel about that. But if you're talking about getting a guy like Alex Debrincat, that's kind of what you're looking at. Now, here's the thing, too. I think you have to throw in your pick here. I think you're going to have to throw in the 9th overall pick in this year's draft, which obviously is not something that I think Steve Yzerman wants to do, but he can afford to, because if you get the center here, you're going to have Debrincat and Larkin and Andrew Kopp down the middle, right? You trade Marco Kasper, whatever. You trade this year's pick. On the back end, you've still got Moritz Seider, Simon Edvinsson, Albert Johansson. You've still got the guys up front that you still like. So I don't think it's that big of a deal if they were to even trade Marco Kasper. You don't need Marco Kasper if you've got Debrincat. I don't know. Unless they're planning on playing him on the wing with Larkin on the first line, well, then you still need that second line center, and that could be Kasper. But I don't think the ceiling is even that high on Marco Kasper to be a legit top 6 center. So I think it's in one of those situations where it could be in the best interest of the Senators here to maybe try and get Marco Kasper, get the 9th overall pick, and maybe another asset. Whether that's another draft pick, whether that's a depth goaltender like a Nedeljkovic or whatever, Nedeljkovic, whatever you want to call him, kind of finding a way to make that work, because I think that if I'm the Senators, you got to get another goalie, right? That's ideal. But then you're also looking at, like I said, you're trying to develop your center core, and if you're losing a guy like Debrincat, you probably want to get a decent center. And the Red Wings are in a spot where they might be willing to trade Marco Kasper. That's a benefit for the Senators going the other way. They get a young center. They could draft another young center with their 9th overall pick. So there's a lot that they could do here. And when you look at the Senators' young guys, especially down the middle or up front, you've got Robbie Yarventi, who's 20 years old. Ridley Gregg, he's 20. Tyler Boucher, 20. All those guys are first-round picks, forwards. Those are really good players. And now you add Marco Kasper and whoever they could be drafting. That's pretty damn good. And even on the back end, you look at what they've already got. You have Thomas Hamara. You have Lassie Thompson, who's still taking a little while to develop. Same thing for Jacob Bernard-Docker. So there's a couple guys here that they could find a way to make it work. It's just a matter of what would the Red Wings want to, or what would the Red Wings be willing to give up here? Because, like I said, I think Marco Kasper has to be a part of the package. And I don't know if that's something that they want to do, but if you're picking up a player of the magnitude of Debrincat, Steve Yzerman might be willing to do that. Now, like I said, he is an RFA this summer. He's 25 years old. He's arbitration eligible. But like I said, if I'm the Senators, yeah, you know what? It sucks. You'd rather have a guy like Debrincat. That's why they traded for him last year. But like I said, this is a very good team still down the middle. Yeah, you'd probably like to add somebody in free agency. But you've got Timmy Stuchla, you've got Tkachuk, you've got Giroux, Batherson, Matthew Joseph. Yeah, you'd like to see a little bit more from, and the development of a guy like Shane Pinto, which maybe allows you to trade Debrincat and it doesn't break the bank too much, because Shane Pinto looked really solid last season for the Senators. So maybe that creates a situation where, okay, yeah, it sucks losing Debrincat, but it's not the end of the world, and it's easier to stomach. And like I said, you have those former first-round pick forwards that you've been drafting. Tyler Boucher is a winger. Ridley Gregg is a center. They really like Ridley Gregg. A lot of teams have been trying to get him in trades, and Pierre Dorian's been like, nah, we like this guy. We want to keep him around. So I think that's going to be an interesting guy to watch for next season, and maybe he'll take Shane Pinto's spot in the lineup, and Shane Pinto will move up in the lineup. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens here, but I think that the Senators aren't ready to make a deal for Debrincat. I think Debrincat's going to be one of the big moves here at the draft. So definitely stay tuned, because I think the NHL draft this year, that's going to be a good one. I'm definitely excited for that, because I think when you look at what the Senators could do just in general, right? They don't have their own first. They don't have their own second. They don't even have their own third-round pick in this year's draft. So maybe they find a way to creep back into the top 10, trading Debrincat, getting some extra assets. I think they'll be okay going into next season, and even they could flip those picks. They could use that 9th overall pick to bring in somebody that wants to play in Ottawa, right? So let me know what you guys think down below. First of all, what do you guys think of the Red Wings being the best fit for Debrincat? Do you think he ends up going? I don't see how he could go to Vegas. They've already got a really good center core, but you do wonder with a team like Dallas. That one definitely raises some eyebrows. Nashville, considering they're about to go into a rebuild, does Debrincat really want to go there? I'd love to know what you guys think. Where do you guys think the best fit is for Alex Debrincat? Guys, make sure to check out our links down below. We have the new Goal Line Hockey tank tops for the summer. Guys, this is a really comfortable tank top. I really like this one. So make sure to check out that stuff. We've also got hats, we've got sandals, all that summer stuff. So we've got some Goal Line Hockey summer merch for you to bring out to the beach. So make sure to check that out. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you again next time. Peace.